What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Octopath Traveler and why it has taken over my life and why I am absolutely okay with that, because I love this game. I think it's fantastic. So we're going to spend some minutes and talk about why I love this game. So for any of you who don't know, I have never really been into RPGs all that much. You know, ever since I was a kid, I grew up in the Super Nintendo era, so I never really played any games like Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy III, Chrono Trigger, all these classic 16-bit RPGs. I never played them. I always thought they were kind of boring. I know that's kind of blasphemy to say. I always thought they were kind of boring. I didn't really understand the concept of leveling up, getting different equipment, different things like that, and I just thought it was kind of hard and overwhelming. So I never played them, and it wasn't until I got older that I really started to kind of dive into this genre and sort of talk and sort of look at different games in it that are fantastic, that is kind of, you know, people love, and then I started playing. You know, I've played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2, Persona 5 I played last year and I thought it was fantastic. I Am Setsuna I played on the Switch as well, and now Octopath Traveler. And why do I love this game so much? What is it about this game that I just absolutely love, as I just said? I think one of the main things is the combat. You know, RPGs are no stranger to having sort of kind of convoluted, I guess, combat systems, but Octopath Traveler does it in a way that there is a lot of strategy that's required, but to sort of get into there and sort of take a look at how to use those strategies and exactly learn what to do isn't really all that challenging. And I think that's great. That's a really great way to sort of get people interested in turn-based JRPGs like this one. And I think it's fantastic. You know, you've got your standard attacks, you've got different weapons you can use like swords, pole arms, bow and arrow, the axe, whatever else. Tons of like magic spells of fire, ice, thunder, light, whatever else. And it all makes sense, and each enemy has a specific weakness, and once you exploit that weakness against that enemy a certain amount of times, which is noted by the shield next to an enemy, you can break them and you can stagger them, and then you can even do more damage to them. And that sort of concept makes a lot of sense when you hear about it. You know, when people are talking about it, you'll say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. If you hit them enough times with their weakness, they'll go down, and you can, you know, just sort of unleash everything that you have on them. And it's cool. It's awesome. There are some enemies that, you know, are weak to ice but not weak to fire. Maybe your spellcaster or your one of your party members has fire, so you can use that against them, whatever else. And it's just really cool. It's really awesome to sort of have that style within there. And then going along with that, you can actually use what's called boost points, where you can sort of save up these boost points per turn. And then once you have a certain amount that you want to use, you can press the right button and you can sort of stack those points together. So instead of just attacking one time with an axe, you can attack an enemy 3-4 times with the axe, which is fantastic, and you can just unleash all of your damage on that one particular enemy. So it's a very simple, I guess simple for lack of a better word, it's a very simple combat system to learn. But to master it takes a lot of strategy and a lot of thinking on your part about what you're doing and what foes to take out when, different things to use at certain times, and it's just really exhilarating. You know, when people think of turn-based battles, if you're not really an RPG fan, you just think of, oh, your party is standing around, one person attacks, then the enemy attacks. Kind of boring in a sense. But when you think about it, and when you start to really think about the different implications of each decision that you make has in terms of the battle, it's very interesting to see and very cool. So that is one reason why I love this game. I love the combat. It's simple to learn, again, for lack of a better word, simple to learn, but kind of difficult to master, and that each battle is different. You're going to have different enemies, you know, there's random encounters. A lot of times you'll find some different enemies, especially if you go to different areas, and they all have their own specific strengths and weaknesses. And it's important to sort of learn what their attacks are, learn what their weaknesses are, and then use that knowledge to exploit those enemies and take them out. So, very brief overview of the combat system, but it's fantastic. Each fight feels engaging. It feels like everything you do, every choice you make in a battle actually matters. So if you don't break an enemy when you think you should, it's very possible that it could bite you, later on in the battle. So it's always important to sort of understand what you're doing and understand all of the choices that you make in battle, because it could ultimately change. So the combat system is fantastic. I love it. Every battle is so much fun. In terms of the graphics, this game looks fantastic. It definitely harkens back to sort of that older 16-bit RPG nostalgia that I personally don't have, but I can appreciate it. I've played games in the past that I'm nostalgic for, so I can kind of appreciate how people would absolutely love the 16-bit sprite art style. And then having that with this, I think they call it the HD 2D world. This HD 2D environment looks absolutely fantastic. It almost looks like you're looking at a diorama or even like a pop-up book or something. It looks insane, but it looks so good. And when you go to these areas where there's snow or sand or just water in the background, and you can see it in the background or even in the foreground, it actually sparkles. There's like a little tingling effect, a tinkling effect or whatever. It just looks fantastic, and it really brings a very unique art style to the video game world. All these times we see games that are trying to push 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, whatever else, and those are fine. Those are awesome. I love games that look like that. They look fantastic. But there's something to be said about an art style that does something different, that still does something new, even though it's still familiar at the same time. It's just, there's something magical about that. And I think Octopath Traveler really sort of sets that tone in terms of its visuals and its art style. It's amazing. Like I said, you've got desert areas, snow areas, wooded areas, mountain areas. There's so many different, environmental settings here, even though there's not really anything new. Of course, we've seen snow areas. Of course, we've seen desert areas, 1,000 times. But the way that this game looks with the HD 2D sort of graphical style, the art style, it looks incredible, and I love it. All the towns are very unique. There's all different kinds of NPCs there that you can talk to. There's a lot of side quests that you can do and different things like that. Each town has an inn, sort of a weapon supplier, sort of a item supplier, and then an inn that you can rest at. I can't remember if I said that already, but it's very important to take a look at these, as you can buy new weapons, stock up on health potions, healing grapes, inspiriting plums, whatever else, and it's always good to take a look at the different supplies that these suppliers have. And so all the towns are really cool, and outside these towns are the different areas that you fight in. And like I said, there's tons of different creatures that you can fight, and it's really cool. And speaking of the map, when you start, you select your character, and that character stays in your party throughout the entire game. But once you complete that character's first chapter, you can go to anywhere on the map, within your level reason, of course, and recruit any of your characters. So I started off with Cyrus, and then I completed his first chapter, which was really cool, and then I went to Ophelia because she was kind of near him, did her first chapter, got her in my party, and just went on from there. And it's so addicting to go around and see all these different characters, see their stories, see how they interact with the other NPCs around them, and just sort of experiencing their story. Most RPGs are sort of one giant story that sort of encompasses all characters throughout the entire world. Where this one, it's a little bit different. There's more bite-sized stories between each of the characters. And while some people kind of have a gripe about that, they kind of want them all to interact together, I personally don't mind it. I kind of like these little bite-sized stories where, they don't really do anything new or introduce anything new, but the way that they tackle them is very interesting, very engaging, and it's just a ton of fun to just go through these stories, to sort of understand their past, to understand what drives them to go on these journeys. It's just so much fun, and it's really great. The voice acting in this game is awesome. I have it set on English, which again might be kind of blasphemous to some people out there, but I personally like that. And the voice acting is great. I think all the main characters sound really good. I love how they interact with the other NPCs. The fully voiced sections are great. It's just fantastic. All the characters have their own personality, not just with the 8 main characters, but with all of these sort of fellow NPCs that are within these tales. that you interact with. They're all great, they're all fantastic, I love them. It's just great to see them add something to these tales, and it's just a lot of fun. So this is just a little sort of bite-sized, I guess, impressions video of Octopath Traveler. Like I said, the battling is fantastic. I love it. I didn't even talk about the music. Let me talk about the music for a second. The music is absolutely gorgeous. While you're walking around these different areas, the background music is great. The battle music is very cool too. Really gets you pumped up, especially with the boss theme battle. That one always makes me like, okay, let's do this. We're gonna take this fool out, and we're gonna do it, and it's awesome, and I love it. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm really kind of working through everyone's chapters and whatnot, but I just got to one of Ulbricht's chapters, and I just completed the final boss in that chapter, and I won't spoil it, but the music, in terms of what's going on in that chapter in his story, the music for that battle was unreal. It set the tone for what his part of the story at that time was doing, and it was great. I don't know, it was just really interesting, and just really, I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but it made so much sense when you're playing the battle, and it makes that battle, again, in regards to the story, it makes that battle have so much more weight to it, so much more substance, and it was just fantastic, and I loved it. And it was not really a spectacular battle. It was kind of, dare I say, boring, just because, you know, at that time, it's just sort of Ulbricht there. But the way it's done was great, and just sort of the tone of that battle and the setting was fantastic. So the music is breathtaking. It's amazing. I want to get the soundtrack for it somehow. I'll see if I can try and find that at some point. But the soundtrack, or the music rather, is amazing. Each track has its own setting, its own feel, its own tone. And I think music is very important in setting a tone for the game. So this game has fantastic music. It just is absolutely insane, and I love it. So Octopath Traveler is an amazing game. I cannot gush about this game enough, and I know anytime that I turn, you know, this camera on, I always talk about games that I absolutely love. And of course, I don't want to really talk about games that I hate, but I know I always do this where I play God of War, I play Breath of the Wild, whatever else, and I always come on here and say, this is the best game I've ever played in my entire life. And the games that I have played, I absolutely love, and I know I do that all the time. But Octopath Traveler is definitely a game that will be very near and dear to my heart for many years to come, and I will have such fond memories of playing this game, and it will stick with me forever. It's just that good of a game. And I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes at that, like, oh my god, it's an RPG, calm the hell down, like, just relax, not that big of a deal. But you have those kind of games too. I'm sure you guys have games that you are nostalgic for that you absolutely love. And for me, Octopath Traveler is that game. So that's it. I really just want to talk about Octopath Traveler. I'm going to continue playing it. I haven't really finished anyone's main story yet. I'm just sort of trying to do them in whatever order I see fit. So I've just kind of been jumping around between different characters. I think on like the 4th chapter for Hannet and Ophelia, I believe, and I think I'm like 3 for Alphen and Cyrus, something like that. I can't really remember, but it's a fantastic game. I've got like 50 hours into it, and I don't see myself slowing down anytime soon. I haven't even done the optional dungeons or really any of the side quests. I've just been doing the main chapters and grinding and getting upgrades on weapons and potions or whatever else. I shouldn't call them potions. They're healing grapes, damn it. Just everything's like that. So yeah, guys, Octopath Traveler is a fantastic game. I absolutely love it. So let me know what you guys think of Octopath Traveler. Do you love it as much as I do? Is it a game that you've played but you don't really care for? Is it a game that you absolutely want and you can't wait to get your hands on it? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this game, because, like I said, I absolutely love it, as I talked about for 15 minutes. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care.